Hello everyone, we are back again. Welcome, this is Crucible Tarot. We're going to be reading for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, from now, I guess, till the end of July 2026. We'll read for this period and see what's taking place in your energies for this moment, and we will also just be having a look at the messages, the general messages that need to come out for this particular time. And I guess we do the thing as we always do. If you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell so you don't miss updates from future postings. And additionally, feel free to support the channel in any way that you wish. And also, please block scammers because they're all out and about doing their thing against us. That's it. We'll go straight into it. Yeah, we're now coming into some pretty interesting periods. I think we have a Mercury retrograde going on right now. This is actually wrecking me up quite a bit because I do have a bit, not a lot, but a bit of Mercury influence with several signs in Virgo, and additionally signs in the 6th house, and then also a very, very strong Mercury opposite Uranus. So it's just going to be a bit of a nightmare. My brain's all over the place these days, and I just kind of want to calm it down a bit so that way I can focus and preferably speak as succinctly as I can when I communicate with people. That said, now we're looking towards Aries. Aries, I don't know if there are any particular planets in Aries at this moment in time, but I do know that there are some interesting changes that are afoot based on what I've pulled for your cards. And they're positive, so that's great. It's a first also for the entire reading, so I can't complain about that. The first thing that you have here with the Moonology Oracle deck that I'm using here is Hold Your Vision. And this is the fixed moon. This is when we actually center our energy on a specific goal in mind, even as we're halfway getting there. With a fixed moon, it's typically telling us that we're moving towards a stage or a completion of a goal in our minds or in our actions and activities. And we're at the halfway point. It's time for us to reflect on how far we've come now to move forward into the full moon, in which we can go ahead and culminate all of those energies into something successful, or into a conclusion at least that will allow people to gain insights and clarity and understanding about the actions and the activities that they've taken part in over this 28-day cycle, lunar cycle. So in your case, in your situation, what it tells us is that you have something that you've been working on or working towards. You are now doing your best to endure the constant energy that you've had to put into it, and finally you will be getting to, I guess, the promised land, if you want to say that, by finally pushing forward past the finish line. And we see some very good cards here coming out here. The first one is the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune, with our trusty dusty Rider-Waite tarot, is the card about having things move into a better position. So on the Wheel of Fortune, you have 4 different beasts, if you want to look at it that way. You have this one for the sign of Virgo, one for the Phoenix, which is Scorpio, and then let me see if I can find the rest of these. One is the Bull, which is Taurus, and then one is okay, let me correct myself. Phoenix is Scorpio. This is the sign of Aquarius, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have Leo and Taurus. So Leo and Taurus are at the bottom. These represent the culmination of energies in their fixed positions and their locations throughout the zodiac. And what we're talking about after that is that things move between those stages. So in order for us to have kind of an epiphany, a radical change in our lives, for things to go from bad to good, or sometimes even from good to bad, that typically happens when they shift dramatically from one stage to the next. Not in a mutable sense where it's kind of an in-between stage, not necessarily in a stage where, you know, it's rapid movement, because you could still fail, but it's moving to that fixed, rigid stage, which is also about holding your vision as well. We then finally can make things happen in our lives. We finally switch into a stage in which we are, you know, getting tangible results. And so this is the card of Sagittarius, which can indicate some things for you about anyone in your life. You may have Sagittarius in your chart, or you may know a Sagittarius that you're dealing with. The reason why all of this has happened is because you felt that progress has been blocked for a long time. Oftentimes, we'll be in a stage in which we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then finally something snaps, where it's like the universe just moves everything into place. And sometimes for us, we can feel like our time has been severely restricted or limited because we've had to wait for the results to take shape. But now it's clear and evident that that is now happening. And what this is leading to in your life is something quite stupendous here, because you have the Sun and you also have the Four of Wands. So this is a lot of happiness. It could be about the home life with the Four of Wands, but it could also tell us about celebrating a very strong milestone in your life, which makes you very happy. And this could even be about moving into a new home, but it can also be about making a very, very strong movement towards something to celebrate. So getting a raise, getting a job, taking a trip, getting married, getting engaged, oftentimes because this is the engagement card rather than the marriage card in many cases, because they're having the ceremony and the party. So it's like everyone's going to celebrate that the two people have decided to get together. And with the Sun card, it tells us about a vitality, a vulnerability that is needed, clarity of perception as well, because the Sun is the happiest card in the deck. It is also typically reminiscent of childhood and joy and all those precious memories that make up our foundational self. So the reason why all of this is taking place is because you avoided a disaster. I would even say you avoided a disaster in love, or you had avoided a disaster in something that, you know, you felt strongly about in the past, but now you've had to turn it down. So, say for example, in recent memory, you decided not to take a specific job or move to a specific place. You decided not to, you know, get engaged or to get married to a male or female that wasn't the right match for you. You're now, because you have taken a prudent approach to the liaisons and the relationships that you have been working with in the past, you are now celebrating the fact that you have preserved your integrity, your vitality, and your resources and finances. So I think that that's a very good thing for you to do, because you were discerning in the way that you need to be discerning in life. Now, in my opinion, and this is my personal opinion, when we talk about the balance between Chesed and GEVURAH, which GEVURAH is represented by the Obsidian and Chesed is represented by the rose quartz in the astrological world, I guess the geology of it, you know, the different gemstones that correlate to each of the energies. We don't discriminate enough in today's society. And one thing that creates a lot of the chaos that you see on the news or in daily affairs, or sometimes even in your own neighborhood, is that people are willing to accept energies and people into their life, into their country, into their society that don't belong there, that have malfeasance behind it, or at least malice within them. And it's important for us to have that judgment, because that creates the boundaries and the restrictions needed to preserve and sustain whatever aspects of your life or society that you need to preserve. So, as I get older, I understand what this means more and more. So, for example, you invite someone into your home, but you find out this person is a hardened criminal. And I did see a story about this yesterday, where there was body cam footage of police, visiting a woman whose son allowed a man to sleep on the couch with the two of them. They said he was in hard times, he needed help. What they found out was that the man was 32 years old. It wasn't a friend of the child. And furthermore, where the guy had been sleeping on the couch, he had a knife, a long blade, within the couch, within the sofa cushions. And so this is a classic example of bleeding heart ideas that lead to the suffering of a people. Not everyone is your friend. Not everyone is a good egg. And sometimes it's best to keep your distance, a sizable amount of distance from people like this. This is a lesson that I've had to learn in my life. As I have grown up, I have realized that the women that I've invited into my life, the friends that I've invited in my life, I need to be very discriminating about it and very empirical, which is one reason why I tend to shy away from the emotional, reactive nature of many people. And this is why I have more of a scientific approach than an emotional or a liberal approach to ideas. Because through observation, you can recognize patterns. Through patterns, you can recognize who is on your side and who is not. And so in this case, for you, Aries, I see that this is something that you have done. By holding your vision and standing your ground, you have been able to invite in more positive elements, friends, family, relationships, and so on. This has changed the tide for you rather than accepting anyone in, allowing your sanctum, your inner sanctum, to become porous, and then getting what, a kind of, a degeneracy into your life that would cause you way more harm than good. And so I'll probably go on a rant about that later on. This is something that I do want to talk about, because I find a lot of our societal ills are because of there are people who want to befriend you only to take everything away from you. And it is through that friendly gaze that vampires can be invited into your house only to ruin your life. And I'll leave it at that. Moving forward, what we have here, at the very end of this, we have the Nine of Swords in the reverse, clarified by the Six of Wands, victory over a problem or a crisis. And this is now allowing you to relax, to enjoy yourself, to become at peace again. And for this peace that you bring into your life, it is done through the hard work that you have committed yourself to in the past, which has allowed you to, again, be discriminating. Clarify in your future. You're getting so many of your own cards in here. So this is the Queen of Wands, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, normally associated with Leo as it being a high court card. But I would say a combination with that and Six of Wands, there's a lot of actions that you have taken to boost your integrity, your morale, your sense of self, your pride. Additionally, your capability. By doing this, this has led to the victory which you are now receiving in this moment. So think back to a time recently where you had to push someone away in order to clear the space for yourself to have these victories. Think back to a time in which you did stand your ground on something, and because of that, it gave you the ability to succeed in life against all the naysayers, all the haters, all of the people who have wanted to dull your shine and dim your light. It's important now for you to recognize that your light shines brighter than ever because you have safeguarded it. And again, that is a core principle of what I try to teach on this channel about the essence and the spirit of GEVURAH in the Tree of Life. It is something that we need to get back to in our modern society that we have refused to do in the past, but are now catching on. This goes with dating, with men not wanting to participate in a lot of dating issues because of the way they have been kind of brutalized in the dating scene, shown in many of the different algorithms through dating apps and so on, and different trends that are rising. People fighting back against criminality, communities finally stepping in and preserving their space by fighting back against criminals that do not have a place in that society. Jobs, a lot of people not finding jobs and then just getting out of the workspace in order to do something creative because these jobs are exploiting them. And then finally, we're saying no more. We're finding new ways to build new businesses, new streams of income, and even multiple streams of income. So that way we're not at the mercy of these people who come in and pretend as if they have something to offer when in fact they do not. So that's really, really good. Not only do you have the Six of Wands, the Queen of Wands, you have the Sun, the Four of Wands, you have a Sagittarius card, which is the Wheel of Fortune in your outcome. You have the King of Wands in the upright, the Moon in the reverse, and the Knight of Wands. So much of your energy is about moving forward, having the clarity to be able to move forward with masculine energy that allows you to then move into the next epoch of your life. With that Wheel of Fortune card in the earlier cards, what it's showing you is that now that things are turning, you have just this immense amount of energy that you can use to propel yourself forward into the next stage of your life, into the next period of contentment and happiness that is taking shape. And you've done this on your own merit, and that is a very amazing thing for you to do. So hats off to you, Aries, for really working hard for that. And the advice that I pulled for you is that sometimes you have to do things a little differently. You have to fight tooth and nail to get the things that you want. Card number 5 in the swords. All the 5s represent GEVURAH. They're not easy, but they're worth it in the end. So that's a 5 of swords. And then you have the 6 of cups in the reverse in your cards. So in some ways, when I look at the advice for these two cards, it's almost like saying, getting Oasis's don't look back in anger. It's not to say that you shouldn't look back in anger, but it's saying that despite all of the challenges that you have been through, you are now receiving the success that you have been looking for. And by doing this, it's time for you to celebrate the progress that you have made. So, excellent. Good job for you, Aries. Once again, this is Crucible Tarot, reading for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the month of July 2026. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell, leave comments below as to how this relates to you. And until next time, VIAM, GEVURAH, AMBULO. Take care.